Good morning. Hi. Thank you for coming to the orientation that we are holding for the role of the interpreter class. This is a class that we offer twice a year in the spring and the fall. And Susan Cash Brown here today is our consultant for the class, and she's going to give you an overview of what this class involves. A lot of times there's some misconception of what this class is. We want to make sure that everybody who enrolls knows what it's all about. Susan has worked here at the college for many, many years in the role of the assistant director for ESL. So she's very familiar with all aspects of this topic and what questions you may have. So I'll let you take over, Susan.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. All right. Well, good to see you here this morning. I do want to give you an overview of the class, the role of interpreter and translator, and then give you a little bit more information about how the class was designed and what the purpose of the class. So the class was designed through a community effort. So many agencies and people in Lincoln over 20 years ago came to SCC and asked us to design a interpreter training class or series of classes to help people who were new to Lincoln, who had strong language skills in English and another target language, so that we could provide training for them to work in the community and provide interpreting and translating skills. So this is a class that our community asked for, and SCC put in the time and effort and work to design the class. We received funding from many parts of the city, many agencies to do the design of the class. So it really is a class that meets the needs of our community. And as a result, our community refers a lot of people to come and take the class. So I'm glad that you're here. The role of interpreter class, role of interpreter and translator, is our foundation class. So it is the class that all students are required to take, and that it is the foundation and gives our interpreters and translators the basic foundation that they will use to build their skills as they grow as interpreters and translators. Many people who come to take the class have already been working as interpreters or translators in the community or other places in the world. And so what we do is we work with our students to make sure that what they're doing is meeting the professional requirements that we expect here in Lincoln. So are any of you working as interpreters right now?
Yeah, I do with the Lincoln Public Schools.
With Lincoln Public Schools, okay, great. How about anybody else? No?
I was, but with defense and driving.
Okay.
With the Corps, with the help people immigration.
Right, okay, very good, okay. So the class, Role of Interpreter and Translator, is the foundation course, and that's the course where we will give you the overview of the profession of interpreting and translating. Interpreting is the spoken language, so when you're taking one language, transferring it to another language so that the patient or the client can understand, and then the provider understands. That's interpreting. And then translating is when you are taking written language and transferring that into written language as well, or there's also, you can take written language and translate it into spoken language. So most interpreters do need to be proficient in the written language, because oftentimes interpreters will be handed a document to read and interpret for their patient or client. So there's a little bit of translating that we focus on in the class, but primarily it is spoken language, the oral interpretation. The class is not language specific, so it is taught in English, and you may have seen that there is a requirement for Accuplacer reading skill in order to join the class. And the reason for that is we want to make sure that all of our students in the class have a high level of written comprehension. They understand written English well and understand the structure of English. So that AccuPlacer score is part of the initial entrance requirements into the class. And I believe the score is 258, is that right? So the reading, AccuPlacer NG, which stands for New Generation, score of 258. So if you have taken that AccuPlacer test within the last 3 years and you have achieved that score, then you've met that criteria. The other requirement is completion of high school education. We do not require that you show us or give us any documents to confirm your completion of high school. We go on the honor system. So if you tell us you graduated from high school, that's wonderful. If a person does enter the class and there appears to be some sort of a discrepancy and the instructor doesn't think the person has completed high school, then we will talk to that individual student to decide how we're going to proceed. But that's kind of our minimum level of education, completion of high school. And that completion of high school can occur anywhere, any high school education. So, okay. The class is in English. It's not specific to a language. However, if in the class there are multiple students that speak a target language, the same target language, the instructor may decide to do some small group work. And that small group work may focus on building glossary and vocabulary for that target language. So depending on who enrolls in the class, the instructor may or may not do some of that small group work. We cover very heavily the ethics and responsibilities in interpreting. Interpreting is one of those skills that when you watch someone who does it very, very well, it looks very easy. In and out, right? I have no problem. But that process and the skills and the ethics and responsibilities that that interpreter demonstrates are very finely tuned, and they are something that have been practiced and used over and over again. So we really work with our students to make sure that they get that ethical and responsibility component of interpreting so that they understand how important their role is. The other issue for us here in Lincoln, right, our town's kind of big, but not too big. So our communities, our language communities especially, can get pretty small and pretty tight. Everybody knows each other. And so one of the things that our interpreters in Lincoln encounter is they will have people approach them at the grocery store or at the movie theater or the restaurant, and maybe they'll ask them questions regarding an interpreting situation, or maybe they'll ask about their neighbor who they saw you with them at the doctor's office, and they want you to tell them if their neighbor is okay, are they healthy? So many interpreters kind of get in situations where they need to politely but strongly not get involved with talking about their business, their work, interpreting, outside of their actual interpreting session. So that's one thing that we will work with on in the class. The students will practice, you'll kind of role play, figure out ways for you to be able to behave in a way that is professional and respectful of the community and yourself. So. There are some associations for interpreters, so there are some national and international as well as local. We have a Nebraska Association for Translators and Interpreters. So in the class, you'll learn more about those associations and how you can get involved and continue your professional development. which that is another focus of the class, is helping our students to figure out and realize that they are in charge of their professional development. So you'll take a class, and that's wonderful. You get training, you'll have a non-credit transcript, you can begin building your portfolio of training. The instructor will guide you and advise you in terms of additional training, and then it's kind of up to you. You as the interpreter will need to continually build your skills and build your experience in interpreting. So the instructor will really help provide that guidance for you. The other part that kind of goes with professional development is self-care, and that is another big issue for interpreters. So as you can imagine, as you worked as an interpreter, or maybe you've been around when an interpreter has been helping out, there can be some very sad moments, perhaps some traumatic moments. People are talking about situations that are very close to their heart, and then you're kind of in the middle as you interpret. So interpreters really need to focus on self-care. How can you take care of yourself so that you in turn can do your job for your client or your patient? And so the self-care component, it feels like it's not very important, but it is very important. It is very important. Okay, so I mentioned that the class, you will receive a non-credit transcript at the completion of the class. So it is a non-credit class, which means there are no credit hours attached to it, but it does have 4 continuing education units attached to it, which is like a step below credit. So non-credit, no CEUs, and then a CEU, or continuing education unit class. So it's in between. It is a graded class, so the grade is pass or no pass, and 80% is the passing grade. So in the class, you will have assessments, you will have homework, you will have demonstrations, presentations, and the instructor will grade you on those activities. And 80% is passing. So those students who do pass the class will be able to request a non-credit transcript from continuing education. I think there's a form that the student fills out, and you will get an official document on transcript paper. So it shows the class that you took and your final grade. And that is something that you will want to add to your training portfolio to demonstrate to any potential employers that you have completed training. This class and all of the classes we offer here are not part of a program. So it is not a program at SCC. It's just a series of classes. At this time, Role of Interpreter and Translator is the class that Nancy's offering twice a year. We also have another class called Introduction to Medical Interpreting that Nancy may offer if she has enough students to take the class. So it is a series of classes, and we have other classes we developed over the years, and as we need those classes, we might offer them, but for the most part, the Role of Interpreter and Translator class is the primary focus for students.
When does it start?
When does it start? I believe April 4th. Yeah, April 4th. And Nancy, I think last session said registration must be completed by April 1st. Okay. Okay. One of the things that can be confusing for students is the word certification. So I don't know if you've heard of interpreters who may say, oh, I'm a certified interpreter, or I completed certification. I would caution you when anyone says that, because a certification, being a certified interpreter or certified in any profession, means that the person has successfully passed a standardized assessment for that profession. In Nebraska, the only certified interpreters interpreters that we provide certification for are court interpreters. So through our Nebraska Supreme Court Administrator's Office, they provide training for certified court interpreters. And so interpreters who complete that training and successfully complete both parts, a written and an oral part of the training, they are then certified court interpreters. It is a very high-level test. I have known many, many interpreters who take the test the first time, and they have been working in the courts. They've been working as interpreters for years. They take the test the first time, and they don't pass. So they go back and they study, they prepare, they get their skills up.
What is the difference between the course you offer here with them?
So our course is a course. It is not a certification. So you will take the class, and in the class you will have tests, assessments, presentations. The instructor will grade your work and your understanding of what is being taught in the class. The certification exam, or the certification program through the Nebraska State Supreme Court, is a nationwide certification program. So interpreters take that higher level test that has been developed for court interpreters nationwide. Okay, so it's a step up, right, in that training and assessment. So there are also classes that you may see advertised that are classes where you will receive a certificate. And actually, it's really a certificate of attendance. It's not a certification. A person who completes that type of training is not certified, but the certificate of attendance basically says you sat in the workshop or the training for the hours that you were there, completed listening to the program, and here's your certificate of attendance. So that is one thing that we have found through the years, that our students really need to clearly understand the difference between certified and certificate of attendance and course. Right, exactly. The other topic that we will cover in class are employment opportunities. So in Lincoln, there are several places that interpreters work, and the instructor will provide information about local employers for interpreters. Yeah. Did you have a question?
Yes. Okay. The state give a certificate, but here what we have to receive in the final. When you done the course, what receive? We receive something, identification for interpreter, or what?
You will receive, but you have to request it, a non-credit transcript. So a transcript is an official document from the college that will state your name and your identifying information, the course that you took, and the final grade for the course.
Like Pennsylvania, they give us one page and describe.
It could be. I've not seen that document that you're talking about. The non-credit transcript will not describe the class. It will list the title of the class, the course that you took. So then in your portfolio, it would be a good idea for you to have the written documentation from what Nancy sends out to show a prospective employer, this is the course I took, I passed the course, here's the description of the course. Okay. So again, back to professional development. Interpreters really have to be in charge of their own portfolio to demonstrate their training and their skills and their work experience. And again, the instructor of the class will help guide on that, guide you all. Mm-hmm. Let's see, are there any other questions that you have?
Susan, could you
mention the AccuPlacer, how they go about taking that AccuPlacer test?
Okay, so the AccuPlacer is given through the testing center, which is located out at the main campus of SCC, 8800 O Street. You do need to make an appointment with them, and I believe you can take the test in person or remotely. So if you want to stay at home and take the test, they can give it to you remotely. And I believe you can also set that appointment up by phone, call them and make an appointment, or online. I think you can do that also. So if you have any trouble connecting with the testing center, you can contact Nancy, and she and her staff can help you out. Did you have a question?
Yeah, if this is not certificate, why some places they ask for this, the training? I mean, like there's some places for interpreting, they don't hire you until you have this training.
Yeah, this class,
Yeah.
because this class is highly regarded. So as I mentioned, the community, our community, so the hospitals, doctors, different agencies in town, asked Southeast Community College to design the class. So we designed a class for our community. So many providers in town know about this class, and they know the high quality of training that we provide. So they look to our class to get local interpreters trained and ready to go work as interpreters.
If you go different state, you need to take the training?
Yeah, good question. So interpreting rules are not nationwide. You may even find from town to town there are different ideas, different criteria for interpreters. So we're very lucky in Lincoln. We have a lot of people who speak other languages along with English, and so we have a very rich resource of highly educated people who have a lot of training. But if I go to another town in Nebraska with not as large a population, fewer people from other countries, I may not have as high qualified interpreters. So maybe my criteria is a little bit lower because I can't expect people in my small town to get the high level of training as the people in larger cities like Lincoln or Omaha. So that's, again, I'm going to go back to interpreter putting together their portfolio. So you will begin collecting and able to show, presenting in a professional way to prospective employers all of the work you have done as an interpreter. So of course training is very important. Your work experience, any of the other opportunities you've had to develop your skills as an interpreter. So yes, the interpreter really has to present themselves in the way that they want to be presented. You can't expect someone else to look at your paperwork and say, oh yes, we know that now you're top of the line. You have to present that to them and show them your experience, yeah. So the instructor for the class is Oscar Rios Pojirez. You may know him. Oscar is the bilingual, bicultural coordinator at Lincoln Public Schools. So Oscar oversees all of the bicultural, bilingual liaisons for LPS. And has done that for many, many years. So he's very knowledgeable in interpreting. He knows what he looks for when he's hiring interpreters for his program. So he is invaluable as a resource in our community. And he also has many connections. So he really is well suited to teach the class. And we're very lucky that Oscar continues to teach the class.
He's who?
What?
He's who?
Oscar. Oscar is his name.
Oscar Rios.
Oscar Rios,
He came from Lincoln Public School.
He works at Lincoln Public Schools as the bilingual bicultural liaison coordinator. So all of the interpreters who work for Lincoln Public Schools are supervised by Oscar.
It's my supervisor.
Yeah, he's your supervisor, yeah. Yeah, he's good. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. Are there any other questions that you have? Anything I missed, Nancy?
No, I don't think so, Susan. If you are interested in taking the class, you can register in this building down at the reception center. You need to register by April 1st, because sadly, if we don't have enough students in the class, we won't be able to run the class. So that's why there's a deadline for registration of April 1st. And our secretaries downstairs can take care of all of your registration questions and needs.
There is a book required for the class. It's less than $20. It's actually a binder, and that can be purchased at the SCC bookstore at the main campus at 8800 O Street.
Do you, when you register, do you have to pay the $219 then, or is it like?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So when you register, you pay that tuition fee. Mhm. Okay. All right. Well, if you have no questions, thank you for coming. Good luck. I hope that you find that you do want to take this training. It's for interpreters who are out there working in the field, it's an invaluable training. So I highly recommend it.
Thank you.
Okay, you are welcome.